primary presenters. Okay, we're being recorded. So they're going to talk about their experiences, and we're going to share about what it takes to activate on the air. And if I understand the order right, I think, Steve, are you up first tonight, or?
I believe so.
Okay, we're not rehearsed. We each have a short part of the presentation, a few slides or whatever, what have you. But I think Steve's up first, and I think he's talking about the, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're going to give us an introduction to the Parks on the Air program?
Yes.
All right, take it away.
I'm going to limit myself to 12 minutes. So
that's a good strategy, sir. Good. Have at it.
Do my best to limit myself to 12 minutes.
Very good.
Yes, Parks on the Air, otherwise known as POTA, was really an outgrowth of the ARRL's National Parks on the Air event, year-long event that took place in 2016. And that turned out to be so wildly popular, well beyond what the league staff, I was employed with ARRL at that time, really anticipated. And when it was over, many hams, quite a few hams, decided that they really wanted to keep it going in some fashion. And that really gave birth to what became Parks on the Air. As James will tell you later, I'm sure, or somebody, whoever is designated to do that, there are a number of these OTA programs. There's Summits on the Air, one that's relatively new, Boats on the Air, that sort of thing. Parks on the Air, though, I don't know that it's presently the most active program of its type, but it's getting up there. When I last checked on their website, the website had 10,000 registered participants, registered members, if you will. And they had logged so far on their website more than 2 million contacts. And the whole idea, really, in a way, it's in two parts. You have the so-called activators, and these are people who go to eligible state, federal parks. Now, I say park, it could be a park, could be a historic site, could be a wildlife refuge, whatever. There are thousands of these, not just in the United States, but worldwide. And the activators will journey to these parks, and they will operate from there. If they get at least 10 contacts, that's considered a valid operation for that particular location. However, probably the largest group, the largest percentage of the POTA people are the hunters. And the hunters are people that may never go to a park. But what they do is they get on the air and they listen for these activations, and they do their best to work them, kind of like DX hunting in that regard. There are, among the hunters, I should point this out too, there's no need to turn in logs. The activators need to turn in logs, but the hunters don't. They get processed in the wash, so to speak, when an activator hunts, or if an activator turns their log in. In our area of Connecticut, there are actually quite a few eligible parks. If you go to the Parks on the Air website, www.parksontheair.com, you'll see, or you can see, a map that you can zoom in on in Connecticut, and there are little yellow dots, each one being an eligible park. One that's relatively close to me is relatively rare being that few people have operated from it, and that's Tri-Mountain State Park. When I last checked, it only had 1 or 2 activations in the whole history of the program. The part of the reason is that, I suspect, is that you can't drive into the park very easily, if at all. You have to hike into it and set up your radios. I am first to admit, as somebody who is activated, I go for the ones I could drive into and get out of my car and set up my equipment, my antenna quickly, and make my requisite number of contacts. So why are these people doing this? There's obviously among the activators, it's for the pure fun of it, being on the business end of a pileup, of being out in the great outdoors. For the hunters, and to a certain degree, the activators, they're chasing awards. They've got a slew of very nicely designed, very attractive awards. If you go to the website, you can see them. And they're leaderboards. So it has this competitive aspect to it. Plus, it's going on 7 days a week. I mean, if I went up there right now and brought up the website, I'd probably see a few activators as we're talking who are somewhere in the country or somewhere in the world who are on the air right now looking for contacts. Tends to be more active on the weekends, but again, constantly, even during the week, I find somebody on. I would say most of the activations are taking place on sideband, CW, and FT8. Those seem to be the prominent modes. I did one on slow scan television myself, and I did manage to scare a couple of contacts that way. The most used bands seem to be 40, 20, to a certain extent, 30 meters seem popular. And I don't want to run out of my time, but I do have an audio clip that I recorded. This one was from 40 meters back in February. And this was an activator making a contact. It's only about 10 minutes long, but hopefully you'll be able to hear it.
Roger, about 5757 sounded good. Thank you for the observation. Have a great day and good luck. Thanks for chasing. I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you later. This is W9AFT Georgia.
So that gives you some idea of what it sounds like, although I suspect many of you have heard it before. How am I doing on time, James?
Well, if I was timing you, we're 10 minutes into the net, but
Okay.
we don't hold strict to that. You're right on schedule. If you're done, you're done. If you want to keep talking, have at it.
Well, I know we have others to hear from, but I wanted to get the basics of it out there. And again, if you go to the Parks on the Air website, and I should also mention, I forgot, they have an extremely active Facebook group. Somebody posts to that group, I would swear almost every few hours. They post photographs of the activations they've done and so on. Really friendly bunch of people, by the way, including on the Facebook group. A lot of information traded back and forth, what antennas seem to work well and which ones don't, and so on. So, again, they're a collegial group. I would recommend it strongly. Over to you, James.
Okay, Steve, very good. Thank you very much for that overview. Before we move on, does anybody have any questions they want to ask Steve at this point? Feel free to jump in if anybody wants to ask any specific questions.
Are the
Okay.
items here integrated with POTA?
You broke up a bit. I couldn't hear that question.
Is this integrated with Islands on the Air as well at the same time?
No, these are separate. I'm glad you brought that up. Islands on the Air is another one, but it's similar, but no, they're separate.
Okay.
Okay, great. Anybody else?
I got nothing from the chat, James.
Okay, thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. It's been a couple weeks since I've done this, so good to know, Rob. Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Steve, for that. I'm not clear who's next, if it's Dave or Sean. I know I'm talking last, so Dave, is it you? If not, you want to pass it over to Sean? And again, I apologize, we did not actually rehearse this tonight.
Right. Yeah, we're doing this is live from New York. So no, I'd appreciate it if Sean would go next. And the reason is, I don't want to step on anybody else's material. Steve had some great material. Some of my material was the same, but I wanted to give Steve the chance because he's doing us a big favor tonight by presenting that really great information. And I'm sure Sean is going to do the same. So, and James, in fact, if you want to go in front of me, maybe there won't be any time left when it gets to me.
I'm fine to do that. I don't have a lot to add to this because I have yet, you'll hear this when it's my turn. I have yet to do this, but this is something I very, very much want to do, and I will share where I am in the process. For those who have been following the Reflector, or those who haven't been following Reflector, Dave and Sean actually have already been out and have started activating. And I am aware that last year, and I think you've been done again this year too, Dave. Dave's actually gone out and activated on FM the Sleeping Giant. So, anyways, it's all good. This is a burgeoning area of interest for us as a club. So, with that said, let me pass it over to Sean because he's bringing a lot of enthusiasm to this. Sean, why don't you take the mic and present away, Sean?
If I could just interject one thing, I want to
Please.
mention that Steve has been out, I think, more times than either Sean or I. And he did it first, and to some extent, he's done it best. So
Okay.
Well,
he's
I think
another
I've done
big activator of the club.
about 6 to 10 activations, maybe closer to 10, but there are people out there who, if you look at the leaderboard, it's phenomenal, who have done hundreds and in some cases close to 1,000 activations so far.
Yeah, it's really exciting watching this take off. I remember the National Parks in the Year program the league did, a couple of years back, and it's really great to see this take off. And again, that's great to know, actually, Dave. Thanks for pointing that out. Okay, Sean, over to you.
All right, thanks, James, Steve, Dave. This has actually been a pretty fun journey. KC1NQE, I've been a ham for less than a year now. Got my general ticket a couple months ago. Leading into ham radio, did some in the Boy Scouts 25 something years ago, and then in the military for 13 years, got to operate the PRC 77s, lugging those around. To me, though, POTA is about getting out into the woods. I pick the areas that I can't drive to. I actually enjoy throwing the stuff onto my backpack and putting my feet to the ground and getting out there and getting away from all the steel, cinder, and glass that we have created around in our society. So getting back to the nature. To me, that's kind of what it's all about, the parks and being out there and taking care of the land. So with that, I have a couple things to share. I'm going to start off with the actual POTA website. I was just informed that I received the Bronze Award for my activations. I have over 50 activations right now, 2 of them being DX, 1 in Scotland and 1 in Italy. The rest are Canadian or up and down the East Coast. So I think that'll work. There we go. You should be able to see the screen here. Is that showing?
Yes, it is.
All right.
We got you,
So,
Sean.
yeah, this is the awards page for the POTA site, and as you can see, I've activated in Connecticut 2 different parks: Lamentation Mountain, which has only been activated twice in the history of this, and also Naugatuck State Forest, which I was the first activator for that. As far as hunting, I've hunted 15 different parks, as you can see in the green squares throughout the U.S., and there's 135 parks here in Connecticut. I figure it's going to take me about 2 years to do them all. Where's my next slide? This is the equipment that I bring up onto the mountain. Basic radio setup with battery power and 2 HTs, solar panel backup. It's basically just a watt and a wire and getting out into the world. It's a Zygu G90. It's an SDR radio. It goes 20 watts. And I have the Encom 3 portable end-fed antenna, and that thing has been amazing for me. Like I said, I've been able to reach out and hit quite a bit of the earth here. I did create a short little video, gives a kind of idea of the contacts. And there we go. Let me know if the audio is okay when it starts. CQ POTA. This is KC1 NQE, KC1 November Quebec Echo calling CQ Parks on the Air in Park Kilo 1690, Lamentation Mountain, Central Connecticut, calling CQ Parks on the Air. This is KC1 November Quebec Echo listening. NQE calling CQ POTA. This is Kilo Charlie 1 November Quebec Echo calling CQ Parks on the Air listening.
Eagle Whiskey 2, Delta X-ray.
Kilo Whiskey 2 Delta X-ray. This is KC1 NQE in Park Kilo 7538. Go ahead.
Roger, on 7538. I have Eagle 5757 into Iowa. Over.
I copy that 57 into Iowa, and you are the same coming into Central Connecticut. I have you nice and crisp coming in. Good connection there.
Hey, Roger. The conditions are pretty poor, but you're nice and loud. 7-3, thank you for the new part for me, and good luck with your activation.
Very good. You're actually number 10. So this is an official activation for Kilo 7538 for number 10. So thank you, 73.
7-3. Congratulations, and turn in your log. 7-3.
Copy the 1728 for your car. 1728.
Very good. We're official. Thanks, Sean.
Very good. This is number 1 in the book for me. It's always great when you've been walking through the woods for a while and you finally come across one of these things. And you know your trail is true. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching that and partaking in my journey. And my next goal is to tick off all these yellow dots here in Connecticut. So hopefully you guys will join me out there and we can have some fun club activities. And with that, back to you, James. This is KC1 NQE.
Hey, Sean, before you kick it back, I noticed that you didn't have a tuner. The NFED was matched enough to your radio so that you didn't have to carry one with you?
The radio itself actually comes with a built-in tuner. So it does all the work for me. And this thing is amazing. I could probably put a paper clip into the back of it and it would still work perfectly fine.
Oh, okay. I'm going to have to add that to my list of stuff to buy. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, it's in high demand right now. I saw a couple up on QRZ, and good luck trying to find one from the factory because there are none. And if you're trying to get the 128B add-on, which gives you the amplifier for the 100 watts and also access to the 6 meters, yeah, also good luck on that. They're really rare.
Awesome. Thank you.
John, that was really great. I really appreciate the presentation of the video. It was great to actually see somebody out there and doing it. And that's absolutely fabulous. Like I said, I have an interest in doing this. I hope to be able to join you in some of these activations soon. Does anybody else have questions for Sean on his presentation? Feel free to come now and ask.
I would just say, Sean, why don't you unshare your screen?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to do that right now.
Right on the bottom or maybe the top.
It's not giving me any access to that through.
John, I do have a question myself. When you've gone out and activated, how long have you been out? How long do you activate when you go out and have done this? How many hours are you out there at a time?
About 2 to 3. The last time I went out was cut a little short by weather, and actually got to give some kudos out to Ted KC1DOY, because without him showing up with a very, very vital key to conducting POTA, which is a pen, any type of writing utensil, he saved me about another half an hour walk to and from the car.
That's great. I have another question too for you. So I see you use an end-fed antenna, and so I'm just curious, how were you able to raise the antenna? What method did you use for getting the antenna up? I assume you launched it into a tree, or what did you use? Did you use a mast? How did you get your antenna up where it could resonate well for you?
Using a little bit of 550 cord and a lot of luck, just kind of throwing it up into the tree and eventually getting it up there. That's pretty much it. Try and pack as light as possible and use all the tools that I have.
That's great. That's great. I was very impressed. I like the video when you were showing loading up the backpack as well, because obviously that's a part of it. You're going to be hiking in. You want to be light, but you want it to work as well. So kudos to you. And as far as the Xiegu, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, transceiver, any other impressions you have you want to share with that rig? I'm somewhat intrigued by it. I just wanted, what are your other impressions in the time you've been using it?
Still trying to figure out how to stop the sharing the screen here, but the Xiegu is absolutely amazing as far as I'm concerned. It's my very first radio, and I haven't gotten to haven't figured out how to use all the features on it. There's a lot of different menus that drop down, and being a new ham, not sure what everything really means, but we have Elmer nets to tell me through that.
Excellent. Well, really well done.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me ask you, so what I have is a Go kit that was put together by N1GNV. It's an FT891, and I have it hooked up to a tripod with a bunch of ham sticks. And if I walk into not Sleeping Giant, which is right across, almost down the street from me, or I go to Wharton Brook and I go in, 50, 60 feet, 80 feet into the park and put up my tripod, put up a 40-meter ham stick and turn the radio on, what kind of QSOs do you think I would be likely to be able to make? Is it dependent on the propagation? Is it luck of the draw, or am I disadvantaged from the get-go for one reason or another?
It's going to primarily depend on your setup and your transmit and your takeoff. Like anything else, setting up a base station, you're just making a portable base station. So a lot of it is going to just be your ham skills, setting up, being able to transmit out, knowing that you're getting good transmit, low SWR. That's the other thing I really like about the setup that I have is once I put this antenna on, I'll get maybe a 1 to 2 SWR, and then once I hit that tune button, the thing goes flatline.
Yeah, I've got a tuner built into the Go kit as well, and that I use it in the backyard for my ham shack, and I've gotten, I'm happy with what I get. I'm not gonna pull in the 1,000 QSOs, but and for me, it would be just as good to get Naugatuck as it would be to get Dubuque.
Mm-hmm.
So I have low expectations and more likely to be gratified than if I expect too much. But it's just, getting out there and I didn't know whether I really needed to go deep into the woods because the park rangers come over and they yell at you, or people come over and stare, or how deep into the woods do you have to go?
You just have to be within the kind of green swash that the map shows for POTA. So as long as you're within the park limits, you're good to go. You don't have to be directly right on that yellow dot. It's not a GPS marker that you have to transmit from. It's just within the area of the park. So finding that high ground for a good takeoff is always bonus. You also want to respect the park. You don't want to be setting up right in the middle of a trail, impeding anybody else's time or impeding park operations. I have been in contact with the Connecticut DEP, basically for my own purposes of trying to get permits to just be out there and not get hassled by anybody that has questions, especially anybody of authority, but also looking to do late evening or overnight activations, possibly do some satellite as well. And depending on what the state comes back with, I'll pass all that on to the club as well.
You ever think
Chuck.
of killing your dinner and just eating there, you know?
I prefer not to kill. I do a lot of foraging. I actually run another program called the Fertile Forest with a military buddy of mine. He's actually the spearhead. He has his Instagram, and we go out mushroom hunting and find the things that are edible and medicinal within the forest. Nature provides a lot more than what we are really taught. So it's good to get out there and just know our surroundings.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question, Sean. Did you, I don't know if you mentioned, maybe you did already, how you actually got your end fed up in the trees?
550 cord and a lot of luck. Just kind of tie a stick around it and swing it around and throw it up there.
So you just tossed a weighted end over a branch?
Yep, and the antenna that I have actually has a small little ring. So I use that in the middle to create an inverted V.
Sounds like a good application for a monkey's fist.
Yes, absolutely. Either that or a small weighted sandbag. And I think the next thing that I might add to the pack would be one of those wrist slingshots.
Yeah, wrist
That way,
rocket.
I can just sit there and shoot it up into the tree.
Yep.
I've tried slingshots myself, and when I first moved in with my wife, and one day she came out and she asked me, she said, "Why are all these ropes hanging from the trees in the backyard?" Because my aim was terrible, and these things got snagged up there, and I ended up decorating. But I will say, NFED makes a lot of sense when you think about it. One of the slides I'm going to share is about like a trap dipole lightweight that I put together. But again, it just seems like with an NFED, you're launching less wires, I suppose, and so it probably makes it a little bit easier going out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I also wanted to tag onto Ed's question about making contact. So obviously, if you register your activation on the POTA site, you know, hunters are going to see that you're activating the park. So it's like a special event, they're going to search for you. But I was wondering, Sean, or maybe Dave or Steve want to jump in also. When you activate, do you ever self-spot on any of the spotting websites to let people know that you're out there? Have you done that? Have you done that, Sean? Or
yes, I've done the self-spot through POTA, and actually Dave was really great and helped spot through the reflector for me. Fairly new at it, so learning all the organizational things and getting a good flow of how to do the portable operations is kind of just trial and error and trying not to repeat the same error.
Yeah, it's great.
James, in my setups, as soon as I'm ready to go on the air, assuming I have cell service, you know, and a connection to the internet, I immediately spot myself on the POTA site, and then, you know, the next step is to get on the air. As a hunter, I also, whenever I work somebody, I will immediately, because my logging software that I use makes it very easy, I will immediately go and spot them on, you know, whatever DX packet cluster I have access to, and I put POTA in the comment section.
Cool. That's what I was curious about. Thanks, Steve. Any other questions for Sean before we move on?
Just an observation to the people that are looking possibly to get into that. DX Summit is one of the entities you can encouraged to self-spot on. We do it for 13 colonies
I was thinking
and
that.
QSO parties and NPO, IOTAs, whatever, all these other activations, you're encouraged to self-spot. It's probably frowned on for contesting, but that's not what we're talking about here.
I don't know if you, I'm looking to set up my activation like within a week or so. You know, I have an IC 705 and I've been interested in the parks on the air for a while. And so I use a Wolf River coil, and I've been to, you know, some parks in Connecticut, but you know, as far as setting up that Wolf River coil, you know, it's 60 feet of radials, like right in the ground, but you know, it seems to work. I also see people using that, the Wolf River coil, in addition to the NFED.
We've also got a, the club recently came into possession of a buddy pole system, which I've been refurbishing. I've replaced some parts on it already. It's just about ready to go. And hopefully our club, the Meriden Amateur Radio Club, will have a kit that people can check out like you check out a book. You can check out a kit, activate a park on a weekend or some other place on a weekend. You can bring it back when you're done. And it'll be there for club members to use and abuse and thoroughly enjoy. So that's one of my projects I'm working on.
That's cool.
I got a question for Sean. So when you're activating a park and you're submitting your logs, is there any sort of paperwork you need to supply to prove that you were in the park, or is it just kind of you activated the park, here's your log?
As far as I know, it's the honor system, and hopefully anybody out there that's activating is truly within the park, because that kind of makes it the fun of it. To me, ham radio is one of those things where it's people seem to be very honest in wanting to actually do the hobby and not take the shortcuts. So the as far as logging, that's my log, clipboard and piece of paper, and then once I get back, I put it all down on pen and paper to the email. It's actually gone to NZ1J Dave. He's helped me quite a bit with the formatting, because it needs to be in a specific format to send off to POTA. If you don't send it off in the format, this wonderful gentleman Roy will send you an email back saying, try again, do it right, so that way it's easy for them. These guys are all volunteers, so we should do our part as activators to make it very easy for them, so that way everything runs smooth and the program can continue going on for another 50 years.
So if you're looking to get into like the community of hunters and activators, is the website the best place to go? Do they have like a Twitter community or a reflector? What's the best way to get involved?
Start off with the website. If you're looking to activate, definitely register, or you can use their spotting site to become a hunter. Tune into the frequency, see if you pick up the hunter calling CQ, POTA in their park, and then try and make QSO with them. Other than that, I use Slack. It's a community program similar to Discord. I don't know if anybody else uses Discord, but that's been around for a while. And there is a brand new channel in there for Connecticut activation specifically. So it seems to be a small community, but growing community, and good way to actually communicate back and forth. And I've used it once to actually talk to a hunter while conducting a CQ.
What's that? What's the Slack community?
Slack community it's a fairly simple chat program. Actually, I can.
No. I mean, because I use chat, but we use it for different things. Do you remember?
Not understanding the question then.
So if you use chat, you have to open a channel in chat, right? So we have a K2D channel. All the Connecticut 13 colonies operators use, or most of them use Slack just to keep, hey, I'm going to activate 20 at 10 o'clock. Anybody else that's on 20, you need to get off or whatever. So what channel is there a POTA channel on there or something?
Yeah,
or-
there's actual Parks on the Air channel.
Okay, that's what
Um,
that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Perfect. How long did you activate Lamentation for? Do you recall?
I think I kicked off around 11:30, and then I was out there till about 3 p.m. Getting up onto Lamentation Mountain was a little bit more difficult than I first anticipated. The directions from the Connecticut State website for the parks put me about 4 miles up Route 15.
Yeah,
on the
they're
Berlin Turnpike.
rather ambiguous.
Yeah.
I did see that.
So the only other 2 ways that I know into Lamentation Mountain is one through Jafrita Park on the north end of Meriden.
Yep.
Near the golf course, Hunter's Golf Course. And that's still about a 3 to 4 mile hike.
Yep.
And luckily that has trails. The other way to do it, the way I did it, not saying this is the right way to do it, but it's the way I did it, is kind of parked off on a side street off of the Berlin Turnpike, secured my vehicle, threw the pack on my back, and then played Frogger running across the Berlin Turnpike and went up the side of the mountain. There is an HOA that has private designated parking, and I'm not exactly 100% how that works because most of it's on state land, and I don't think you can declare private property on state land, but that's not the topic of tonight.
Thanks, Sean. I appreciate the input.
Question for Sean.
Go ahead, John.
Sean, I see you had I guess a 20 amp hour Lifepro battery.
Mhm.
How long do you expect it to last, say, using 20 watts of power?
Haven't really done a bench test, but just breaking down the math, I would say they would last me a couple hours, and then I have the solar panel with the solar controller, just a small little packet unit that I picked up from Quicksilver Radio that will supplement any power output because the solar panel is going to charge quicker than the radio is going to consume.
Were you usually using 20 amps, 20 watts of power when you were out on your POTA?
Yes, with the exception of one, I accidentally was transmitting at about 7 watts and was still able to get out there. So it's QRP, and to be able to hit all the locations and not just the receiving, but the transmitting and being able to get out there with 20 watts and the end fed sitting in the middle of the woods, I'm pretty impressed with it. But then again, like I said, I'm brand new to all this, so anything is like Christmas to me.
We're gonna
Very
have
good, thank you.
we're gonna have a Lifepro talk in 2 weeks on this net. John, you want to give us some more information on that?
I'd be delighted. Yeah, a lot of interest in Lifepro and other battery type operation, and John N1LLO from HamSource is going to talk to us about specifically about Lifepro batteries, and it's the latest, greatest, hottest battery technology right now, and they have their quite a few advantages over the old tried and true lead acid batteries that we're all familiar with. And John's going to give us a good rundown on that and what to watch out for. There's a lot of pitfalls with them as well, and a lot of caveats. And you know, if you're not if you don't know what you're doing with them and you're not careful with them and you just buy the cheapest thing you can find, I understand they can have some spectacular results that you may not be pleased with. So maybe worth tuning in 2 weeks from tonight, right here, same bat time, same bat channel. And we'll learn all about the advantages of Lifepro batteries and what to look for and some of the do's and don'ts with them. And I do I have a quick question maybe for Steve. Steve, good to see you.
You too,
Congratulations
John.
on your retirement there. You managed to leave on your terms.
Yes, yes.
Well, it was an opportunity in disguise, but anyway, wondering about logging program. You mentioned your logging program, and I wonder what you use, and anybody else have ideas about great logging programs to use with POTA?
Well, John, it depends. If I'm in most cases, I take my laptop with me. Again, unlike Sean, I'm usually not hiking in, so I have the laptop there. I can run it from the car if I need to. So on the laptop, I'm using a software application. This is Windows, called AC Log, and N3 FPJ. I may have that call sign turned around. It's relatively simple, but it does everything I need it to do. If, however, I want to use my iPhone or my iPad, there's a relatively new, in fact, just a couple of months old, logging app for the iPhone and iPad. It's called S.A.M RS, and you can find that in the Apple Store. I'm still doing some work for the league and product reviews among them, and they asked me to do a review of S.A.M RS, and so I did that. It hasn't been published yet, but probably sometime the next few issues. I don't know.
Great, thanks. N3 FPJ, yeah, that's FJP, whatever, whichever one it is.
Yeah, FJP. I use that here, and actually, I actually used it on my laptop when I did a winter field day from my mobile shack, actually, and it was a pretty good logging thing that. And I'm blanking on the guy who does it, on who FJP is, but he does offer specific logs for all the popular contests, including Winter Field Day. So anyways, that's been a good product in my experience as well. So great. Any other questions for Sean before we move on? Okay, that's great. Dave, I don't have a lot to add. If you want to pick up and run with it next, I'm happy to pass it over to you.
Okay, that'll be fine.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I've got a couple of slides if I could share my desktop.
Sure. Rob, is he okay to share?
I made him co-host a while ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Groovy. You're not to share, Dave. It's on the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, I think I'm doing it right now.
There you go.
Okay, so this is some beautiful content which I stole from James. He sent this out as the advertisement for tonight's TechNet.
I say this was one of my slides, so have at it.
So I'm sorry, I cropped it.
No,
down.
don't
It's one
apologize. This
part
is
of
great.
One of your slides.
It's
But,
great.
this is why I wanted to have you go first, because I was going to steal your material. So
It's not my
I put
material.
this up because I think there's some tremendous information here. Here's Parks on the Air on the upper left. Then, as Steve had said, they're probably the most popular on the air organization right now. Summits on the Air, I've done some of this. They got their start a little earlier, so I got involved with them a little earlier. It's another great program. Here's the downside to it. To those of us who aren't 20 years old, you have to go to a summit, and you cannot operate from your vehicle. Their idea is get out there and get to the summit. So they're a little funny. They'll let you use a pack animal. It actually says right in their rules, pack animals are allowed, but no motorized vehicles. So they have a lesser restriction. You don't have to have 10 QSOs to call it an activation. You only need 4, but it has to be at a summit. So it's a good program. Sleeping Giant counts for both. If you go to the top of Sleeping Giant, you get a summit and a park. Here's US Islands. That is what we do every year as a club. We go out and do US Islands, another great program. Jamboree on the Air is over here. We also do that as a club, pretty much every year. But as I'm going to show you with the next slide, here at the top, we have US Islands, which we're currently going to Fireworks Island. Although John B will recall the year that we as a club went over to the island in the Wallingford Reservoir. And I wasn't in the club at that time, but I'm sure that was a bit of an adventure, taking a boat across. Fireworks Island, you only have to cross the bridge. But here's what I want to say about this activation at Fireworks Island. Look at this beautiful setup. Canopy, there's a van, there's a generator running, we have a laptop computer, chairs, tables, lots of club members are coming down, people are working in shifts. Lovely. Now, given all that, take a look at the list of comments about this. Big participation, we have all this stuff. It's one weekend in August. Great program, but there's only one weekend in August you can do it. If you get rain that weekend, see you next year. This is where POTA comes in. POTA is anytime, any place, as long as it's a national park or federal park, national or state park. Anytime, any band, any mode, as long as the park is open and you're in the park. So picture one of the things that we as a club can do, take the setup that we have for US Islands and just move it to a state park. Now you could do it every month, every 2 weeks, whenever you feel like it. Take this exact same setup and move it. That's one way you could do it. You can have 10 club members involved. You can run all day. You could go to a place like Hammonasset, which is a state park, but also has a campground. You can stay overnight. You can do it for 2 days. So on the high end, there's no reason you can't bring a generator and a laptop and a cooler and everything else. On the other end, you could do what Sean does. You can get all down into a 26-pound backpack, and you can go anywhere in between. So POTA gives us a huge amount of flexibility. We could keep activating over and over. You can go out singly, you can go out in groups, you can revisit the same area over and over. You can do it with different modes. You can say, I'm going to go and this time I'm going to try digital modes, I'm going to try Morse code, and it's all active, it's all available. So US Islands, we already do it. The only disadvantage I can see to US Islands is that it's only 1 weekend. Now, Boy Scouts Jamboree on the Air, the club also does this. And again, its number one drawback is it's only 1 weekend in October. So 2 great programs we're already involved in. And tonight we are talking about OTA, on the air activities. So US Islands is certainly one of them, and so is Jamboree on the Air. Interestingly, and I don't know that everybody makes this distinction, there is Islands on the Air and US Islands, 2 separate organizations. And I've heard people call our US Islands activation Islands on the Air. So I've only got 2 more slides, so we aren't going to run out of time. We talked about the spot page on POTA, Parks on the Air. Oh, but before I get to that, on the top, a little bit more about Summits on the Air. Just a couple of bullet points. You have to be at the summit. You only need 4 QSOs and no motor vehicles. I already covered all those points. At the bottom, this is a screenshot from the Parks on the Air spot page. So you can spot yourself through all kinds of other means. Ham radio has all kinds of means for spotting. But when you're working POTA, from my limited experience, I will say you want to use the POTA spot page, because the hunters are POTA hunters. This is where they're going to be hanging out. And your spots are going to show up here, and then they start aging. If you look at the 2 spots that I have here, it says one is last heard 0 minutes ago, and the other one's last heard 1 minute ago. Well, as they age, they're going to move down the list. New ones are going to come up above them, and after 30 minutes, they're going to fall off the list. So you want to self-spot to keep yourself on there. And let's say you are out and you don't have internet where you are and you can't self-spot. You tell the hunters via radio as you're contacting them, please give me a spot. I need the spots. And if you can stay active on the spot page, there are people get pileups and they're working every 30 seconds, they're working another contact, and they do that for hours on end. And people go out for a couple hour activation and make 100 or 200 QSOs in that much time. But in order to do that level of activity, you need to be on the spot page. So I think that's a critical point. And this is my last slide. two different setups. I got these both off the POTA Facebook page. And as Steve had mentioned, it's a very, very active Facebook page. Someone had asked earlier, what's a good way to get started with POTA? Well, one way is get on the Facebook page. There's just tremendous amounts of material and it's all right up to date. Somebody posted an hour ago. I went here, I did this. I tried this, I tried that. I had success doing this and that. So here's two different people who have activated. And you'd have to say they are mid-range. They don't have the canopy and the generator and the van and the cooler full of soda and 3 chairs and a table. But the guy on the right, he did bring his own folding table. So he did set up, he brought all that stuff in, but it may be that his car is only 50 feet away. And the guy on the left, he brought in about as much stuff, but he used a pre-existing picnic table and he brought the mag loop antenna. So I got a whole bunch of bullet points here about POTA. So we're talking about OTA and all the things with OTA, and there's some more popular than others. We mentioned boats on the air. I think beaches on the air took that acronym first. So there is a beaches on the air and a boats on the air. There's a castles on the air, a Walmart parking lots on the air. But the one you really want to focus on, I think, is parks on the air. It is a big, relatively new, growing quickly, very popular program. And it can be very popular among hunters. And Steve had mentioned this as well. You don't have to activate. So if you're interested in POTA at all, what I would say is 2 things. Go on the spot page and just see who's on the air and tune them in, and the odds are you can work them. For me to work 3 or 4 QSOs on a weeknight is relatively easy. And on a weekend, there's even more. And the other thing is go on the Facebook page and see what the content is there. And as Steve also mentioned, there's a lot of awards. They give awards to hunters. So one of the things that surprised me when I joined POTA, I already had earned an award, because you can get on field day, make some contacts. This is another point. There is no designated exchange. You get in a contest and they say the exchange is signal strength and state or whatever for each contest. POTA has no requirements. If you make a QSO at all, you say, this is my call sign, here's your signal report. You're done. That's it. You as a hunter don't even necessarily know that you made a park on the air contact. The logging all gets done by the activator. So you get on the air, you make your regular contacts, you join POTA, and that night you get your first award. You find out, I've already worked 20 stations. You just didn't know it. Some of them were FT8. They're not telling you that they're POTA at all. So you got these FT8 contacts, and there's your award waiting for you when you get there. So let's take a quick look at the bullet points, most of which I've already covered. Any band, any mode, any time. Summits on the air is the same. You can hunt or activate, and they're both interesting aspects of the hobby. Absolutely no cost to join. Same is true of summits on the air. Lots of awards, if you chase awards. You are limited to national state parks and a bunch of other things. There are trails. Apparently, there's the Blue Ridge Mountains. There's a highway goes through the middle of the Blue Ridge Mountains, but you are technically within some sort of, I don't want to know what, let's say national forest, I don't know, but a designated area. So it's a huge designated area. There's tons of activity. If you get on the air and use the spot page and have a decent setup, it's easy to get a pile up. And if you go looking for hunters, it's easy to find a hand. If you go looking for activators as a hunter, it is easy for you to find some activators virtually any day. You won't see them at 6 a.m. I know, because I've looked, but you will see them at 9 p.m. You'll see guys that where they are, it's dark, but they're operating anyway. Facebook group's very active. They use all the modes. The spot page is excellent. Only the activators submit the logs. Activations, as I said, can be hours or days. Sean goes out for like 2 or 3 hours. I've been out for 2 or 3 hours, but I'll see people on there. They'll say, I'm going camping and I'm going to be out for 5 days. And there's other people, they try and activate the maximum number of parks they can within 1 day. They set up, activate, get their contacts, shut down, move to the next park, do it again. you have the option, you can go out all by yourself, or we could actually make basically a mini field day. Any day could be a mini field day. And I'd mentioned the activators often have pileups, and that is basically all I have to present. I think I'm done with screen sharing as well.
Excellent. Excellent, Dave. Questions for Dave?
Just a quick comment, Dave and James. Something I should have mentioned and I forgot. If you're an activator, any contact you make counts, whether that was from somebody who was deliberately hunting you or just somebody that bumped into you accidentally. For example, one time on one activation, I decided to use FT8. And if you're at all familiar with FT8, you know that if you're calling CQ, everybody in the waterfall decodes your CQ, and many people will answer just to make a quick contact. They don't know that you're an activator. They don't know that you're doing POTA necessarily. And for the purposes of doing an eligible activation, it doesn't matter. So it doesn't have to be an actual hunter who's really out there looking for you. It can be anybody.
That's great. That's interesting to know. It sounds like there's a lot of great opportunity to do this. You know, and I appreciate what you've shared tonight, Steve and Sean and Dave. You know, my story, the thing I did not present was in fact, I haven't done this yet, but I'm super eager to do this. In the chat with Sean, I'm a builder. I enjoy building QRP rigs and operating them. And those are ideally suited sometimes for going out, you know, and operating from a summit or something like that. So I'd love to tag along with a future activation if Dave or Sean are doing that, to bring my tuna tins along. And the other thing I was going to share was that I did this was a TechNet I presented earlier this year. I did a mobile installation in my car, and that gives me an opportunity to work a lot of different areas. I can't use it for summits on the air, as folks pointed out, but for park on the air, if I can park within the mapped area, you know, that it gives me a comfortable, easy way to get out and work on the air and do different things. So there's a lot of opportunity here, and that's all I would have added to the presentation tonight. I want to thank Steve, Dave, and Sean for what they shared tonight. This is absolutely fabulous. Sean, you're an absolute inspiration as a new ham who's been out there and doing these things. We do try to wrap up within an hour or so, and we're at the hour mark now. Anybody have questions for any of our main presenters tonight? Please feel free to ask.
I have one question. So Sean, you were using some sort of solar charger, and what's the specs on that? Can you put up a link, or maybe just you know, quickly review the specs on the solar charger?
All right. Oh, can you toss me a share screen again?
Sure, yeah, give me a second. Where are you at here? No, better.
In the meantime, it's an S.A.M portable solar charger, 60-watt foldable panel.
Okay,
bought it on Amazon. It's going for $140 right now. And there's also an 80-watt.
There you go.
All right. All right. So that's what I'm using there. And it's only a couple pounds, 1.35 kilograms to be exact, and fits nicely into the backpack and works as that safety blanket for if the Lifepro battery runs out. I'm actually looking forward 2 years from now. Hopefully we'll have the mercury dry cells and can be using those.
Very cool. Thank you, sir.
Any others? Any other comments, questions?
Question for Sean there. Is that take a special charge controller or something, or you just plug it right into the battery?
It comes with its own built-in charge controller, but I did pick up a secondary one from John down at Quicksilver. So it just as a secondary precaution before plugging it into either the radio itself, which I also have a fuse on there, right on the inline cable. But it's about protecting the equipment. Spend enough money on it. I don't want to damage it.
Okay.
Sounds good. Who else got something to say?
Oh, I can throw in one thing, James.
Yes, sir.
For those who want to go out and activate, Sean and everybody else, one tip, and maybe this has all changed, maybe this is moot, but a couple of weeks ago, I attempted to activate Dinosaur State Park up in Rocky Hill. And that's a very easy one to do physically. It's one of those that you can just literally drive into the parking lot, park, operate from a mobile antenna or do whatever. To my dismay, what I found was an extremely high noise level in that area. S8, S9 almost noise levels. So I'm throwing it out as a word of warning in case your next destination is Dinosaur State Park. Again, perhaps it was something transient and it won't be there, but I did notice on the POTA page, somebody else complaining about that. So it may be a long-term situation. It was bad.
I heard the same thing. I read the same thing, Steve. I was reviewing that POTA site and I thought, Dinosaur State Park. Well, you know, and I read some of it and they were like, yeah, there's a lot of noise over there. Don't know where that's coming from.
No idea, but it's serious.
Yeah. So from Jeffrey in the chat, Jeffrey from Jeff, this was a really great presentation. I plan to activate within a week. I have been looking at POTA Facebook Slack for quite some time. Next week, I will be camping for 4 nights and plan that activation. Really great presentation. So got another activation coming up, folks.
There you go. It's catching fire, just like those fox hunts did last year, right? What a great club we have. We've got a great club.
We've got a fun. It's a dynamic club, isn't it, James?
Yeah, it really is. It's great how we cycle through these things. And it's
Went to a radio club meeting tonight on Zoom. Hey.
Well, I'm going to announce I'm going to start doing Krispy Kreme on the air.
I'll join you for that one.
Yeah.
He took out the only Krispy Kreme we had here in Connecticut.
Years ago.
They don't have one?
Years ago, when I lived in Rhode Island, I joked with a fellow ham that he needs to put a...
Meriden Amateur Radio Club.
Oh,
There's about 20 guys out here. This is the same software they use for schools. Yeah.
Give me a second, I'll find it.
Yeah, can you mute him?
I'm working on it.
I was trying to do it myself as a host.
Good to have you back, John. Mute.
Got it.
So I was joking with a friend years ago about putting a mobile rig on his Ryder lawnmower and doing lawnmowers on the air. So there's so many things to do. And again, I think this is great. I'm definitely going to get with Sean about getting out with my QRP rigs. I build them, but I never use them as much as I'd like to. So this is a great opportunity, a great opening. If I can tag along and maybe give him a couple extra contacts while he's working phone, it would be great for me. So I want to thank everybody for participating tonight. Steve, good to see you tonight, and thanks for sharing your expertise. And Sean, you're super inspiring. Again, we like seeing today's ham, new lifeblood in the club, doing stuff, and we can learn a lot from you. Very inspiring. And Dave, as always, thank you for being a force behind this too. So again, we've gone the hour. People are welcome to stay on Zoom and chit chat if they want. I guess I'm learning that we have TechNet for 2 weeks. I was going to make an appeal, but I guess John's going to do Lifepro, which is great. I'll be away on vacation, so come back in 2 weeks and hear John and learn about batteries. So thanks, everybody. This is AB1DQ returning the repeater to normal use. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to log off so I can go grab dinner with my wife, but have a good night, everybody.
All right.
Well, I have a question for you. Ron, I have a question for you.
Good.
Sorry. Is that the Slack you mentioned before? How do you connect to that?
I put a link in the chat. Should be one of the first links up there. It's the joinslack.com. Parks on the Air.
What is chat? What is chat?
It's gonna download an app program, and it just opens up another window, and it looks like the bulletin board chat program.
Mike, are you using a computer for Zoom?
Yes, I am.
Are you using an application or the web?
I'm using the application.
Okay, so on the bottom of your screen or the very top, if you cause it to roll up or roll down, you should see a thing called chat. Looks like a balloon, little balloon with an arrow that says chat.
Or if you press Alt and H at the same time, it'll pop
Right.
it out.
See chat, Mike?
What am I looking for?
You're looking for chat. Well, you're
Muted.
muted, buddy.
I have it open.
Well, that's what chat is. Chat is just the ability to type in a message to people, to everybody or an individual while you've got Zoom open. That's all the chat is. If you're talking about Slack, Slack is a chat app that you can use to keep track of other things. Like we used it for K2D last year. I don't know if you were on there or not, but if you follow some of the emails for K2D this year, you've already been invited to join Slack. Once you've got the Slack application started on your computer, it's just a matter of adding the right channel, like the K2D channel, POTA channel, anything that you might interest you in Slack.
It's the website.
Just look
Scroll
up
up to the top of the chat window here, Mike.
Yeah.
Open the chat window, scroll all the way to the top. There's a link.
Yep. Or you could just do a web search on Slack.
I'm actually not a huge fan of the Slack program. I prefer Discord over it. I think it's a much more user-friendly interface. Might actually be something good for the club to do in kind of like with the reflector.
Yeah, I use Discord. I've got a lot of a lot of younger friends who use Discord for different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we want to start a W1 NRG Discord, fairly easy. I get it set up.
Might be a good idea just for another alternate way to keep track what's going on. All right, any other questions, comments, or queries? Having none heard, good to hear everybody, see everybody on tonight. This will be available on YouTube after I upload it. Probably takes me half a day or a day to do that. I'll probably do it tomorrow. It's one of the things I like to do from work and I've got some spare time. Thanks a lot, Sean. A lot of good meaty information there, buddy.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this and really appreciative of the club too. When I first got the license, was just all on my own. Didn't really know that clubs existed. All I knew is that I watched a video on YouTube about somebody contacting the ISS, and I was kind of hooked from there. Then kind of started researching what it actually took to get the license. And once I got the license, I happened to be walking around Jafrita Park and picked up, I think it was Ed, on one of the repeaters, and just started talking. And he said you guys were fox hunting. Had no idea what fox hunting was, but knew that people were out looking for something, and just kind of listening to transmission and hunting the hunters, listening to their locations or what streets they were kind of passing by, and was able to link up with the group from there and then join the club shortly thereafter.
Yeah, I remember. I remember when you came up, we were finding that very obscure park in Wallingford. I remember meeting you there. I had such a hard time triangulating that park. It was so frustrating, but we found it eventually. But it was nice to meet you there. And just to let everybody know that's in the club, we have a flea market this Saturday. It's going to open up at 8 o'clock, probably go until 10 or 11, 12, something like that. It's just for club members. You've got gear that you'd like to put out and get sold. You can grab a table, put some stuff out. The club will have some equipment and gear available to other club members to purchase. It'll be rather reasonable. So we're also trying to plan, I think there's an effort underfoot to have a fox hunting training day, or like a mini kind of training thing. We'll put out a bunch of fox boxes out right next to the flea market. After the flea market's done, we'll probably migrate down to the fox hunting area, which is at Moran and that kind of area. So that's the kind of effort that's going on this weekend. So I just want to stick that out there. All right,
Thank you for a great presentation. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. All right, guys, I'm going to close it out. Have a great evening, and maybe we'll catch you. Let's see, it's Thursday. Maybe we'll catch you Saturday.
All right. Good night, everybody. 7-3.
Later up.
Night all. Have a good one.
Right.
Good night.
73, stay safe.
Hey, Rob, if you're going to stick around, I have a question for you.
Sure.
I was just happy that you guys had this tonight, because I had a whole bunch of questions regarding parks on the air, and I got them all answered tonight. I was going to bring it up at the Elmer Shack, but instead here we are tonight. So thanks a lot. You guys read my mind.
Yeah, it was good content. Absolutely good content.
Very good. Okay, night, guys. See you later.
See you later, Ted.
See you
I'll get your
Saturday.
pen back to you too.
Oh, you can keep it. I got a box full of the things.
All right.
Sean, what did you do in the military?
What did I do? I was just a soldier. Went through the enlisted ranks and then got my commission. And 13 years later, got out and became a civilian, grew out a beard and grew out my hair.
So you were commissioned officer?
Yes.
Oh, very good. And that's what's called a Mustang, the way the Navy calls it, when you go from enlisted to officer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I made it up to E7 and there wasn't really any promotable positions. Once you get up into the higher enlisted NCO ranks, it becomes pretty competitive. So I knew that I wasn't going to get promoted staying enlisted and wanted to give a little bit more back. So had the aptitude to get the commission and went through the accelerated program in I think it was 18 months. It's the equivalent of like 2 basic trainings and a 4-year college degree.
Very good, very good. All right, I guess that wraps it up.
Yep, yep.
Take care, Bob.
Right, thanks again, Sean.
Yeah, Rob, I just wanted to ask you about the Discord and some of the other multimedia stuff. I don't know if you want to record it for post up there if you're going to cut it out, but
oh, I forgot that was running. Thanks.